This is Introduction to ACES, Part 1. In this lesson, we're going to talk about the first letter A. A is for assertion. If you want to ace your assignments, write with ACES in mind. The first letter of ACES is A. It stands for make a clear assertion. C stands for cite, cite specific evidence. E stands for elaborate, elaborate on your evidence. And finally, S stands for summarize, summarize your main idea. But first we're going to talk about A. A says make a clear assertion. And what that actually means is answer the question with clarity. Here's something to think about when you're thinking about answering a question with clarity. First of all, your assertion should be an opinion that is worth arguing. So, is this an opinion that is worth arguing? Cats often take naps during the day. Well, no, actually, this is not an opinion at all. This is a fact. Cats do often take naps during the day. So this is not a clear assertion. This is not an opinion that's worth arguing. Is this an opinion that's worth arguing? Black cats are unlucky. Well, this is an opinion, but is this really worth arguing? Most people are going to look at that and think, of course, that's a superstition. Black cats are not actually unlucky unless you're superstitious. No. Most people are not going to want to argue that. Is this an opinion that's worth arguing? Cats make the best pets. I think so. A lot of people are going to argue with that. I would argue with that. I'm kind of a dog person myself, but cats are okay. Anyway, a lot of people would argue with this statement. This is an opinion, not a fact, that is worth arguing. Another helpful hint that's going to help you to make clear assertions is to use keywords from the question or the writing prompt in order to form your assertion. Which keywords might you use from this writing prompt? Here it is. Examine the lesson Shakespeare was trying to express through his play, Romeo and Juliet. Now, you may or may not have read Romeo and Juliet, but you can probably tell if you were going to answer this question with a clear assertion, what key words might you use? Well, we probably would definitely want to refer to the title of the play, Romeo and Juliet. We'd probably want to refer to the author. We might even want to refer to the fact that it is a play. So those are like 3 key pieces of information right there. But also, the crux of this writing prompt is to examine the lesson that Shakespeare was trying to express. So you can talk about a lot of things, but if you don't talk about the lesson that Shakespeare was trying to express, then you haven't answered the writing prompt with a clear assertion. Take a look at this writing prompt. What events and circumstances reveal Ron's heroic qualities in J.K. Rowling's Harry Potter? Now, you may or may not have read Harry Potter, but that's okay. You can tell from this question what key words you might want to use in a clear assertion to this writing prompt. Well, certainly we're going to probably mention the author in the title, right? But 100% we have to mention Ron. If we're going to answer this writing prompt, this question, with a clear opinion that uses key words, Ron has to be one of those words. And then definitely, what are we going to talk about? When we talk about Ron, we're going to talk about his heroic qualities. So even if you don't want to use heroic qualities, you probably certainly want to use the word heroic somewhere in your answer. And finally, the question says, what events and circumstances reveal Ron's heroic qualities? So not only do you need to mention Ron, and you need to mention the fact that he was heroic, right? You also are going to have to list some event or circumstance. Here's another writing prompt. After reading George Orwell's novel Animal Farm, what animal do you believe best symbolizes either positive or negative human behavior? Identify the animal you have chosen and what behavior this animal symbolizes. Okay, lots of information here. There's not only a question, but there's a statement here. So they've asked you a question and then they've given you more information. You don't want to overlook this. Okay, so let's look at keywords though. Well, here we go. Here's the author and what the genre is, what type of writing it is, and then the title. So that's key information. We definitely want to use that in our opinion. And then finally, we're going to want to, it says twice, it says right here, what animal, and down here, what animal. So definitely we're going to want to list an animal. That's a key word, right? And then twice it says symbolizes. So we're going to talk about a symbol. And finally, they're not looking for any symbol. They're looking for either a positive or negative human behavior. Use these key words from the writing prompt when you form your opinion that is worth arguing, and that is how you will make a clear assertion. Here's another one. An epic hero is a character that possesses courage, strength, and a desire to achieve immortality through heroic actions. Select a fictional character that exemplifies these qualities and explain why this person can be considered an epic hero. Now, this is really interesting because this particular question, this particular writing prompt, does not list a specific story or novel or poem or article that you are supposed to look at. This one wants you to pull something right out of your brain. But we still have some key words that we're going to want to use. For example, epic hero. Epic. Not only do we have a directive to select a fictional character and explain why they're an epic hero, but we have up here in the very first sentence the definition of what an epic hero is. So we know that this is really important. This is keywords. These are keywords that we want to use in our answer. Epic hero. And then we're going to want to name a fictional character. And then we're going to want to explain why this person is going to be an epic hero. And we could do that using that keyword why. We can say the reason why is, we could be that clear about it. And when we're talking about why, we're probably going to list a quality of that character that makes them an epic hero. The final tip that's going to help you to make clear assertions is listed third, but it's just as important as the first two. The reader of your opinion should understand exactly what your assertion is without knowing the question or the prompt. They should be able to read your assertion and understand what you are about to write about or speak about without having to read the question or the writing prompt that you read. Let's take a look at an example. Do you have a clear idea about what the following assertion is arguing? I'm going to write about Darwin's concerns with evolution in The Origin of Species. Now, I don't know about you, but I do not have any idea what this essay or speech is going to say. I know that it's going to be somehow related to Darwin's concerns, but all I know is that they're going to write about it. I don't know what those concerns are or whether the I'm that we're talking about here agrees with those concerns or disagrees. This is not clear. There's no real opinion here. This is actually a fact. I'm going to write about the concerns. Okay. Here's another one. The vaping industry is especially dangerous because it targets its advertisements to appeal to young adults. To me, this is much more clear. I know that this next bit of information is going to be about the vaping industry. I know that the claim that they're making, which is an opinion that can be argued, is especially dangerous. And then I also know exactly what they're going to use to form their argument. They're going to talk about how advertisements appeal to young adults. This is very clear. Here's another one. Violent revolutions have had both positive and negative results. I hope you're already saying no to this one. Violent revolutions have had both positive and negative results. Why are we talking about both? What are you trying to prove here? Are you trying to prove that it's positive or prove that it's negative? I don't know what this essay or speech is going to be about, really. And this kind of sounds like a fact that doesn't sound very interesting. Let's take a look at this one. School uniforms have a positive impact on students and their parents. All right, much more clear. I know we're talking about school uniforms, and here's the opinion, is that they have a positive impact on students and their parents. So I can imagine that the next thing we're going to talk about are what are those positive impacts on students and their parents. This is very clear. How about this one? The nurse in Romeo and Juliet serves as a foil character to young Juliet. Very nice. Now, you may not have read Romeo and Juliet, but I'll bet you can guess that there's a character in there who's a nurse, and we know that the title is Romeo and Juliet, so we know exactly which nurse we're talking about. You may not know, but there is a such thing as a foil character that you can learn about in literature. So even if I don't know what that is, I do see that this author is talking about the nurse being a foil character to Juliet. This is very clear. There are some things we can learn in this essay. One more. Pigs, because they always want more. I hope you're saying no to this one. I have no idea what's happening here. Now, here's what's happening here. If I could see the writing prompt, the prompt was, if you recall, after reading George Orwell's novel Animal Farm, what animals do you believe best symbolize either positive or negative human behavior? Well, obviously, whoever was writing this little essay, they've probably read George Orwell's novel Animal Farm because they knew a really good answer, pigs, because they always want more. But the way that this answer is formed is not a clear assertion. This requires me, the reader, to have to go back and look at the prompt to understand what in the world they're talking about. And also, pigs, because they always want more, there's so much left out of this answer. Like, I want to know about what do they symbolize? Is it positive or negative, right? And the thing that they have going for them here is that they've actually named an animal, pigs. So there's something. But this was not a clear assertion. We've had a quick introduction now to the A in ACES, which is to make a clear assertion. And that basically means answer the question with clarity. Now let's try a couple of examples. Here's a haiku by Yosabu-san called The Light of a Candle. It goes like this. The light of a candle is transferred to another candle, spring twilight. And here's the writing prompt. How does The Light of a Candle, a haiku poem by Yosabu-san, use candles to describe human connection? So now we want to form an opinion about this writing prompt question that uses key words from the writing prompt and that someone else could understand even if they didn't read the writing prompt. So what are some key words that we might want to use? We might want to use the author's name. We might want to use the title of the poem. I think that would be both two excellent things to do. We might also even want to say that it was a haiku, name the genre, the type of writing that it is, right? Let's see. Also, what we're specifically supposed to answer is, how does the poem use candles to describe human connection? So there are a lot of keywords that we can use in our assertion. How about this assertion? In the haiku, The Light of a Candle, Yosabu-san uses candles to show how human connections everywhere can be strengthened by the small deeds of individual people. We used all of the keywords from the writing prompt so that our assertion makes sense on its own. And then you can see right here, this is our opinion. This is our interpretation of the poem that we are going to try to prove. Human connections everywhere can be strengthened by the small deeds of individual people. This is one interpretation of the poem. The light of a candle is transferred to another candle, right? One single candle lights in one other single candle, and then pretty soon you have spring twilight, right? Lots of little candles that make up one night sky. That's an opinion I think that we can argue. Let's take a look at something that's just a little longer. This is a fable, one of Aesop's fables, and I would suggest that you pause the video right here and take a moment to read this fable, The Fox and the Grapes. Okay, welcome back. I hope you had a moment to read that, and let's take a look at the writing prompt. What is the overall message of Aesop's The Fox and the Grapes? Now, bit of a trick question, because if you were a very clever reader, you will notice that right at the end of Aesop's fables, he almost always wrote what the moral of the story was. He gives you a kind of an overall message. In this case, there are many who pretend to despise and belittle that which is beyond their reach. That would be the moral of the story. So if you were super clever, you might write an assertion something like this. The overall message of Aesop's The Fox and the Grapes is, there are many people who pretend to despise and belittle that which is beyond their reach. Now, at first glance, this looks like a pretty cool assertion, right? Because we've used the keywords Aesop's, we've used the fox and the grapes, we've used this keywords up here, overall message. This looks pretty good, right? What's wrong with this assertion? This is all just one big quote from the story. This is fact. Yes, that is what Aesop says the overall message is. But that's not what we're asking for here. We're asking for what you, the writer in this case, the writer of the answer to the writing prompt, what is your opinion? I don't want fact. I want your interpretation. So let's take another look. Same writing prompt. We're looking for an overall message of Aesop's The Fox and the Grapes. How does this sound? The overall message of Aesop's The Fox and the Grapes tells us that people who think good things can't be theirs will often pretend that the good things aren't actually good. This is much better because this is an opinion, this is an interpretation of the short story. We have talked about assertions. Next time we'll talk about how to cite specific evidence, and later on we'll talk about how to elaborate on your evidence, and then we'll talk about how to summarize your main idea. We'll be done with all of these in no time at all. But for now, that's enough. You've done a great job.